Right, so this one's quite a simple and short one today, and that's training intensity and how to know if you're actually training hard enough, when to push weights, or when are you kind of just like leaving gains or progress on the table. So yeah, like what does that feel like? What does that look like? And obviously that's going to be something that's quite new and fresh, especially if you're just starting out at the gym. You might not know what that feels like, and that's normal. But the thing is that at some stage you're going to have to catch up to speed and you're going to have to know what it feels like. And that's what we're going to talk about. So you can kind of bridge the gap between, oh, that was an easy session and, okay, cool. Like I've done the most that I can do now. So the first thing I want to talk about is training to failure. Okay. So training to failure is, as what it kind of says it is that you train and you lift weight until you have nothing left in the bank. So again, what does that actually feel like? What does that look like? So if you were doing a set of an exercise, let's say push-ups, training to failure would be doing the push-ups until you could do no more. You would then rest for your minute and a half, and then you would go again until failure. That would be training to failure. So you'd literally burn out the muscle, burn out the reps, do it until you couldn't. Now, I understand the thought process here for like most people. Most people would say, okay, cool, but if I train to failure, then I won't have enough energy to do the next two sets, right? And that's true. But also, you can't train or you can't make progress by waiting and planning for your next two sets. You have to take each set as like an individual like challenge, for example. So just because you're on your first set, yeah, you might want to take it as a warm up, but you don't want to just like do it for the sake of doing it. Because then rather than doing three sets of an exercise, you should be doing four sets of an exercise. Then maybe your first one is just going through the motion. Okay, because you want three hard sets for that exercise, for that muscle group, so you can actually make progress. So, look, training to failure, there's pros and cons. Training to failure is great, but it's very exhausting to your nervous, like central nervous system. It can get mentally like just tough training to failure all the time. You'd be a lot more fatigued, and training's not as fun because you're just like trying to kill yourself every session. So yeah, like training to failure is not ideal, but it is kind of like a metric, if you like, of being like, okay, cool, like I definitely trained hard enough because I didn't have anything left to do. So sometimes it's good if you're doing like a little challenge at the end of the workout. Maybe you go on like a ski erg, or again, like you do some push-ups after like a chest day or an arm day. Maybe you do like some of the assisted pull-ups and you just go to failure just to kind of finish off your session. It can be quite good. But something that's a little bit more sustainable is RIR, which is reps in reserve. Um, RESER. So reps in reserve. Yeah, spell right. So what this is essentially training, and this one will take a little bit more time. You might not know what this feels like until you've, trained for like maybe like 6 to 12 weeks. This is training until you have, let's say, one or two reps left in the bank. So let's say, so now you've understood what kind of reps in or training to failure feels like. You have nothing absolutely left. And then you've recorded that as like 15 push-ups, for example. You know that doing 12 or 14, 12 or 13 push-ups would be leaving you two or three reps in reserve. Okay? Two reps left in the bank. Anything beyond that, so let's say you've done like 10 push-ups. That is then seen as wasted opportunity. So let's put down here 4 to 5 is wasted. So that is just wasted opportunity. That's not ideal for building muscle, making progress, getting stronger. You know, that's then defined as like not hard enough because you had so much more energy left in you. Okay. So one or two reps left in the bank. You probably could have done one or two more, but that's okay because you don't want to train to failure because it's just exhausting. Okay. So you're still going to make progress. Um, Maximum, maybe like three left in reserve, but you're really getting towards that end point. Okay. So this is a much more sustainable way to train, having reps in reserve. but it is a little bit, like if we're talking about pros and cons, it's a lot more difficult to judge what that feels like and know where you're at. So sometimes like training to failure is good, sometimes having reps in reserve is good, and that's where you kind of look at having like push weeks, deload weeks, and then like maintenance weeks. So then let's say you have like 4 weeks in a month, you would do like a push week where you train to failure for like most things, not everything. Then you would have like a maintenance week where you kind of just take it easy, maybe like 50%, 60% of your kind of like max effort. Then you go into like a deload week where you're kind of like chilling out. Um, Sorry, like a maintenance week would be more like 60 to 70%. Then a deload week would be more like 40 to 50%, a little bit more cardio. And then you could go into like another maintenance week where you start to pick it back up again. Then you go for a push. This will then allow you to know what training light and training heavy is and when like to use that appropriately. So reps in reserve. And that's how you kind of know how to train hard enough because you're like, okay, cool. I only had two more left after that. And what I say to like some of my clients as well, like after you've done an exercise, ask yourself, like on a scale of 0 to 10, how hard do you think that was? Just ask yourself that after every single exercise. If you have finished that exercise and then you go, okay, cool, like that was probably a 5 out of 10, being honest with myself, um, then you need to step the game up. You need to put the weight higher. If you've been given an exercise and I'm telling you to do 12 to 15 reps and you've done your 15 reps and you go, okay, that was pretty easy, you need to put the weight up. Okay, don't start doing like 20 reps. Um, Put the weight up. Okay, get stronger. So that's kind of how you would know as well. Mind muscle connection is something that's very, very important as well. Because the thing is, I don't know if like anyone, watching this back or if you've heard of like these like push-up challenges where you do like 100, 200 push-ups a day. Okay. Um, I remember doing this like 5 years ago, and it just got to the stage where like I was doing push-ups just for the sake of doing the push-up, and like I just didn't really like feel anything. Like it didn't make any difference to like my chest or my arms. Like I was kind of just doing it, and I wasn't really focusing on the exercise. So although I was doing like 100 push-ups a day, it didn't really feel like my chest was working. I was kind of just pushing through it, like going through the motions. And I would then go into the gym. I would go and do like 12 kg dumbbells on like a chest press. And I would feel it so much more because I took like the exercise slower. I actually thought about my chest stretching. When was the last time, like you done a chest movement, you actually held onto your chest, came down and felt that stretch? Actually thinking about the muscle that's working. Or if you're doing like a tricep push down, holding your tricep, being like, okay, cool, like that is the muscle that's now training. I promise you, the more that you understand and the more that you feel and think about your muscles moving, what muscles are working, the more that you will get out of that exercise and that workout. Okay? This isn't me being like holistic or like some sort of like hippie being like, yeah, connect with your like with your like body, man. Like this is actually just facts. Okay? Like you need to know what you're working when you're doing these exercises. Otherwise, you're just going through the motion. Okay? Have you ever got into a situation where, for example, you you get on with your day-to-day life, I don't know, pushing shopping trolley around the supermarket, or you're like carrying the shopping bags around and you don't even think about it. And then you go to the gym and you pick up like 3 kg and it's like the heaviest thing in the world, but your shopping bags are probably like 5 kg. Yeah, that's the difference because carrying your shopping bags, like that's something that you just do on a day-to-day basis. You use whatever muscles just to kind of get through it. You're probably like swinging around, like using your legs, whatever, just to kind of get it into the house. When you have those 3 kg dumbbells, yeah, it's lighter, but you're actually thinking about the exercise that you're doing and every single muscle that's working. So there's more intent, there's more integrity with that. So therefore, it becomes harder. So what you need to do, long story short, is start to focus on every single muscle that you'll use when you do these exercises. And then that's how you'll know if you're training hard enough and you'll make so much more progress because you know exactly what muscles you're using and how they work. Next thing, tracking progression. Okay. Um, I'm trying to think of a quote that someone told me ages ago, but essentially it's along the lines of like, if you're not tracking, you're just not making progress. Okay, it's as simple as that. Because there's no point just walking in, and I even talk about this myself on like my Instagram and stuff. It's like there's no point just walking into a gym and just going off vibes. Okay, how do you know? And obviously we have, we all have weeks where we're stronger than others. Sometimes we've had a bad day. That's all good. But that's the thing is like you walk into the gym, you've had a bad day. You usually do 80 kg on the leg press, but because you've had a bad day, you're like, oh, whatever, I'm going to do like 20 kg. Life's not fair. And then because you don't have that tracker, you're like, cool, whatever. And like what ends up then happening is that all of your workouts are just based on emotion. Whereas if you had a tracker, you looked at your phone and you went, oh, okay, cool. Like I do 80 kg on this. I've had a little bit of a bad week. Cool. Like let me do like 70 or 60. Okay. At least then you're making like an educated guess or an educated like alternate to that, like you having a bad day, rather than just going off emotion and just chucking on anything. Some of you might be listening to this, some of you might actually understand. I'm saying this from heart because I know that's what I used to do. So that's like, if anyone can relate, that's funny and cool, and like I get it. But at the same time, it's like if you're serious about, making progression and actually getting the most out of your workout. Because that's the thing is like so many people they just like, oh, okay, like, I go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm training for like 1.5 hours, 2 hours. I'm doing classes on top of that. I'm just not seeing progress. Yeah, because you're not tracking anything. Like you're just going off vibes, you're doing the lightest weight possible, and you're not pushing yourself. So that within combination with some of the other things I've said today, like, yeah, no wonder you're not making progress. You have no idea where you are. Like you're just kind of just doing it for the sake of it. You're doing it just so you can go on Instagram, Snapchat, family group chat, take a photo, and then just be like, cool, I'm at the gym today. Yay. Like that's not how progress is made. Okay. So you need to start tracking the weights that you're doing, and how you're going to move forward with that. And then obviously what you do is then if you're feeling good that day or that week, you go into the gym. Oh, cool, I used to do 80 kg on the leg press. Feel good today. Let me try 85. Boom. Which then leads us to progressive overload. I always say like these Zooms are going to be short, and then like my brain just goes on like massive tangents because like one thing just leads into another, and like I could talk about this for like hours probably. So progressive overload. So progressive overload is once you start tracking your weights. We're kind of going from like newbie to then slowly starting to turn into like a seasoned trainer. So learning what it feels like, then you start to track progress. Then it's like, cool, once I started tracking progress, this is when I start seeing results. That's kind of like the timeline that we're working off here. So progressive overload. What that looks like would be kind of what I said. Week one of your training, you what's the new exercise I'm going to do here? You done walking lunges with 5 kg dumbbells. Week two, you done 7.5 kg dumbbells. Week three, 7.5 kg dumbbells. We're human. We're not robots. We can't always increase the weight. Week four, 10 kg dumbbells. Week five, 5 kg dumbbells. Had a terrible week. Whatever. Week six, I think we're on 12 kg dumbbells. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of, do I have like a little bit of a magic pen here? Yeah, I do. So like what would happen is you kind of see this beautiful little drawing here, and as long as over the course of like 12 weeks, that trend is going up. It's all good if you dip, it's all good if you do like a lighter weight one week. Cool, whatever. Because the main focus is, and this is why I always like, if I'm working with people, I always do like 12 weeks, 6 months, a year. Because the thing is like you are not going to have enough data to know that you're making progress over like a month. Okay. Because all you get to see is that little increase. You're like, wow, I've made so much progress, and then dip. Then you don't know how to respond to that. You go, crap. Now I don't know like how to move forward with this anymore because you're in the slump down here. And then as soon as you get like a little bit of guidance, you keep pushing through. You're like, wow, look at that progress. That's how you see that next level of progress. You persevere, you keep going, all right? You don't kind of get misled by this little dip because progressive overload is over time, progressively overloading, okay? Slowly getting heavier and heavier with the weights, getting more comfortable with the reps. So that's what that will look like. And that's the thing is like that over time is where success is, okay? Not by being like, oh, okay, like I feel good this week. I'm going to do 80 kg, then I'm going to do 10 kg, then I'm going to do 20 kg, and you're all over the place. So you need to track. Once you start tracking and you get a nice steady base, then you start to progressive overload. Each week, try little things. And if you're using like exercises that have the plates on, you can start to add like the 2.5 plates or the 1.25 plates, because you will at some point, and this is another thing as well. Let me get my magic, lovely little pen. You will start to plateau. You will flatline. Okay. So it doesn't always have to go up and down. Sometimes it can just stay straight. And this could be like week one, week two, week three. Oh my God, like nothing's changing. Like I'm really struggling. Like I really can't lift heavier weight. You start to use the 0 point, like the 1.25 and the 2.5s. You start to make a little progress. Then you start to make a little progress. And you start to make a little progress. And then you have like an amazing day. You make a lot more progress. Okay. I don't want to keep waffling on about like these like staggered little charts, but this is how you make progress in the long term. Because guess what? Yeah, you've kind of flatlined. And again, this is where people drop out. They go, oh my God, like, I've been to the gym for 3 months now. Like I think I've hit my like maximum potential. Like I don't need it anymore. Oh my God. Like, like trust me, persevere because that, like again, like one of my favorite quotes, like the magic is in the work that you're not doing. All right. The magic that you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. I think that's the actual quote. Okay. So all of those results that you're looking for, all those results that you want, you need, whatever it is, if it's a holiday, if it's Christmas coming up, whatever, it's that magic little bit there, slowly increasing and progressively overloading. Anyways, like let's move on to progressive overload. Hopefully we got the general idea of it. So once we do progressive overload, we then only have like one thing left, and that's then training methods. Okay, so because at the minute, especially if we're just starting out and we're new to training, we only have like one training method, and that is doing the reps and doing the exercise for 10 reps, and then we rest, 10 reps, rest, and then 10 reps and rest. Okay, so training methods, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's make the training a little bit more interesting. Let's make it more intense. Let's do something fun. Okay. So what we've got things like negative training. You've got things like tempo training. Then you've got like pyramid training. Okay. I might think of another one as we go along. Again, something I could talk about for ages, but I think this will be enough for like most people to move on with. So you can switch it up. Okay, cool. So what's negative training? Negative training is when you focus on the lengthening of the muscle or like the down phase of the exercise. Okay, so what you would do, let's say you're on a leg press. Okay, negative training would look like you pushing at the top. So you push your legs, the leg press is now fully extended, your feet are fully extended, whatnot. Your negative training would then look like slowly coming down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then your knees are down by your chest. Then bang, push. I know that to be fair, that's more tempo training. So that would kind of be like negative and tempo training. Okay. So you're focusing on the negative of the workout. Another example of this could be if you're learning to do push-ups or pull-ups. Push-ups could be another example as well. If you're learning to do pull-ups, negative training would be being able to start from the top and then all you would do is focus on the lowering part of the face. Okay. So What you would do is you would grab a box, you would start the pull up from the top part of the exercise, and then you would slowly release yourself down. Get back onto the box, slowly release yourself down. Okay? There's always going to be an element of, having to get to the start of the exercise, but your main focus is the lowering part of the phase. If you're doing like leg extensions, do it on a really heavy weight, you can grab like the counterweight, you can push it down, get your legs fully extended, and then slowly bring it down and really feel the stretch of the muscle. Okay, so you're really focusing on the stretch, you're focusing on the lengthening of the muscle, and yeah, you're not too worried about what we call the concentric or the getting up part of the movement. With negative training, as you can imagine, this is best done if you've got a training partner or someone with you, because then they can assist. For example, on a leg extension, the person you're training with can lift up the first part of the phase, and then you just focus on the lowering. Then they pick it up. You do the lowering, for example. But things like pull-ups, obviously, you can grab a box, you can do yourself, starting from the top part of the motion, then let yourself down. That's how you can change it up, especially if you're struggling with a particular lift. Doing the negative of the exercise first could be quite a good way into learning how to do the movement. This is kind of like, and again, like by the way, this is the timeline. So like this is when you get to like a stage where things are very difficult, and you're on that flat line where you've kind of plateaued. It's like, okay, cool. Like, how do I now move forward? Because with a negative, because you're not doing the first part of the movement, you'll be able to do a lot heavier weight. So you still gain the benefits of doing a really heavy weight. Um, but you're kind of like on the lowering part of the phase. Once you've done negative training for like 2 weeks, try again, and you'll probably make some progress. Um, so yeah, negative training might be a little bit complicated to understand. Best done with a partner, but great if you're kind of in like a plateau. Um, yeah. Then you got pyramid training. So pyramid, what does that look like? Okay, cool. So pyramid, what you do is you start off maybe at like 60%. So again, we'll do a leg press. So on a leg press, your first set, you'd be at 60% of your max load. So if you're 100 kg leg press, you would start at 60 kg. You would do your 12 reps. Then you would jump to 80 kg. Then you would jump to 100 kg. And then for your top part of the pyramid, because again, all you're doing is you're working up the intensity and the strength. Then for your fourth set, what you would do is you would then do like 110 kg or 105 kg, 110 kg, 120 kg, whatever. You have then pyramided up your weight. And it can work the other way as well. So you can work down. So if you know that your max leg press is 100 kg, if this is your first exercise that you do when you're at the gym, go in there. Obviously, you've warmed up. Go in there, try 110 kg, and then or 100 kg, you know it's your max, you know you can do it. Then you start to work down 90 kg, 80 kg, 70 kg, 60, 50. That is pyramid training. So then you're not always just kind of sitting on the machine. Okay, here's I know I can do 27 kg on the leg extension, and let me do 3 sets of 27. That can get boring. Okay, so pyramid changing can training can mix that up. So you'll start on 18, then you go to 27, then you go to like 32, whatever, just to change things up and get you eased in and kind of pushing forward. So that's pyramid training. Then you've got tempo training where you start to play with your tempo. So, for example, what you would do is uh, bicep curls. Yeah, you get your dumbbells on the higher part of the face. You'd be like 1, 2. So tempo could look like a 1-1 is like your standard exercise. Then you could do like a 1-2, or you could do like a 1-4 or like a 2-5, whatever. Okay. You can make up your own numbers, but they would represent seconds. So imagine bicep curl and kind of do a motion if you're watching this on like YouTube, but if you're listening on Spotify, essentially I'm just doing a bicep curl, but you would literally be like 1-1. Okay. That would be like your normal repetition. Then let's say we jump to like a 2-5. On the first number is like the up part of the phase, and then your second number is the low end. So you'd be like 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the lowering part of the phase. Okay. What this does, it puts the muscle under a lot more tension, a lot more pressure. So what you can do is you can get way more out of a lower weight. Let's say the gym's packed, everyone's on the machine, all of the heavy dumbbells are used. You know that you can do 5 kg, but the 3 kgs are all that's available. Guess what? Now we go into we go into like our little pocketbook of, or like the Bible of exercise. We kind of flick through the pages. We go to tempo training. I'm like, cool. Now I know about tempo training. I don't have to like suffer because everyone else is doing their thing. I'm going to pick the 3 kg up. I'm going to do a 2-5 tempo. I'm going to control that weight, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And guess what? That's going to feel way heavier, way more intense, and naturally you're going to get a better mind-muscle connection because you're taking it slower and you're thinking about the movement. Um, it just feels so much better. So that's when you'd kind of use tempo training. So just like a little bit of a summary on that. So negative training, best used with a partner. And if you're kind of on a plateau, you can't increase the weights. So you just focus on the lowering part of the phase. So you go a lot heavier. Pyramid training is starting from about 50 to 60% of your max and then slowly building up the weight to then hit a PR or a personal best. And then your tempo training is if you don't have like your usual weight available, or maybe you want to take it a little bit more chilled, you don't want to go for like a heavy session. You can do tempo training to use a lighter weight and to feel the same amount of intensity as you would if you were using a heavy weight. Okay, so I think that is pretty much enough for today. Um, like all of these things then considered is how you can start to level up your training. Okay, because at the minute it might feel like you're going to the gym, you're just doing an exercise, you're doing it, and then you're kind of leaving. You feel like you got a little bit of soreness, it was cool, but you don't really know why you've done it. So hopefully this gives like a little bit more purpose, and hopefully this gives like a little bit more direction. And yeah, again, if you have any questions, drop me a message. But yeah, this is how you mix it up and how you can start making some serious progress in the gym. Thank you all for watching, and yeah, let me know how you get on.